Okay, that back up, that's working now. And go live. It's for the love of God.
Yes.
Right, good evening, everyone. Sorry about that. Apparently, OBS decided to have an absolute boomer moment and disconnected, and when it reconnected, it wasn't actually producing any data. So here we are. Take two. Here we are. Thankfully, I have saved the super chats which came through, so don't worry about those. I won't lose those.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I will just wait for everyone to sort of filter in. What were we talking about before all this kicked off?
I was falling over. Oh, well, we're talking about bikinis, I think.
Oh, and the merchandising. Oh, yes, I was saying Ritualist is going to do up some proper size prints for me when I commission him when he has some time, when he gets away from his job. That'd be good. Nice to see people filtering across and finding everything working. Just go and saying "True Boomers Unite." It actually wasn't it was technological fault, but not mine. But here we have. I will say, Matt Whitaker donated £20. Thank you ever so much, Matt. That's a very generous donation. Says, "Evening, ladies and gents. Hope you're all having a good evening. Thanks for all the content. Much love from West Yorkshire."
So hey, West Yorkshire's quality.
So is it? You're on good terms with the West Yorkies.
Absolutely.
Mighty Balzac says, "This is what a Britisher looks like." Well, I assume that's a merch idea. You could have that on a t-shirt. Entirely possible.
That'd be good.
And I think there's one more as well, which is Architect of Fate, which says, "If Sarah is left in charge of the merch, your store will become only home decor, Greg's leggings, and a lingerie section."
Greg's lingerie.
Greg's, like, it's just a pasty on each cheek. People in chat are saying, "Please have Sarah talk more about bikinis. We approve."
I'm not sure I'm a connoisseur in bikinis. It's so cold. It's so cold that I'm more of a wetsuit person.
Good entirely.
I don't think...
I'm just going to say link. You need to do a bikini stream, Sarah, with visual aids, please.
Visual aids. I'll see. Yeah, I'll see what I can do about. I've got a camera, so.
So for those of you, people are asking again who you are. So Sarah is a long-standing and valued member of the stream team. She's come along. You've been on basically every channel under the sun, really, in this kind of space. You've been on V. You've been on my channel. You've been on the Academic Agents channel.
I don't know how I found myself doing all these things, but I sort of fell into it, and then everyone very kindly asked me back.
just sort of wandered into it, really.
Quite literally, yeah.
Yeah, I can remember. I can remember the week that we both joined into this community. Like, what's going on? Why are we here? Oh, I guess we're here.
Well, I mistook V for another Romanian person who I was looking for.
Amazing.
And I think that's how I ended up streaming with him. He wanted to know about hunting in England.
Amazing.
And whether it was true that the mayor was a cuck. So. And
you were more than happy to oblige with the inside information.
Worst fears, absolutely.
Absolutely. So apparently the stream's working and it's a good connection now. I'm very happy with this. Portrait Seal says, we need merch of Sarah's rabbit on the Britisher's head." So I presume that's sort of superimposed, so it's like a bunny in uniform, or the
bunny in uniform, awesome.
Or the pith helmet is now going to be a bunny shaped.
That would be actually really cool. You probably have to get in touch with the Beatrix Potter estate. I still need to actually get rid of that little rabbit.
Last time, last stream, I think we did. People said, "Please, can we read the Beatrix Potter collection as an audiobook?"
Say it again. You cut out then.
Oh, sorry. We should said we should record an audiobook of the Beatrix Potter collection. People were saying.
Love that. We could do like a Sunday afternoon, evening read.
I'll tell you what. We could try that.
Can we actually do that?
Yeah. We'll do it. I'm busy this weekend, but
or at Wind and Willows.
I will set something up, and we will do a reading set of streams.
Well, a Britisher can be the kind of grumbly badger. I want to be the mole. The academic agent is the stressed out, or Toad of Toad Hall.
Oh yeah, academic agent is so Toad. He's very
He
much
would be
Toad.
so Toad. It is. I'd love that so much. I'd really enjoy that.
Speaking of the academic agent, in fact, I don't know if I can share the news. I don't know. Do you know the news regarding AA? Okay.
No, what is the news?
Yeah, I assume it's in the public domain. I assume it's all over the deep law. If not, may he strike me down with lightning and thunder and all of his Iranian Welsh wrath. But his wife is expecting, so there is a little baby. There is a little baby agent who is going to come in about
that's awesome.
21 weeks or so. So that's lovely.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh my god, Daddy Agent.
I can't believe he's going to call the child Mark as well. It's just what a wonderful coincidence.
Even if it's
his wife loves the name. So yeah, well, it would be Marketta or Markelina
Does she actually?
I have no idea.
Master of Marketta.
Marketta just sounds like a really bad Viennetta. That's the trouble.
Oh, I love a Viennetta.
That's
so vintage.
I haven't had a Viennetta in so long. Such a long time.
It feels like a kind of Christmas time thing. That was the kind of thing that my nan would bring out on like a gold tray.
Yeah, or like
wheelie trays with sausage rolls on it.
It reminds me that you know it'd been a good week at the office when Dad came home as a child.
Do you remember Sarah Lee Gatto?
Which one? Sorry.
Sarah Lee Gatto. You have to leave it out for 5 hours to defrost on the edge.
Maybe. I think we mainly went by Death by Chocolate. I think so.
Yeah, classic.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember at one point we fixed the computers for basically there was this particular shop, this sort of takeaway that was near us, and we were friendly with the staff there, and we fixed their computers once, and they do a very, very nice sort of Death by Chocolate ice cream gatto. And they, instead of paying us for the job, they gave us an entire cake of one of these things, and we actually broke a knife trying to cut it because when it was frozen, it's like a block. But we used to love it. We used to go, oh, maybe this month their Skype will go down again, and we can get another cake out of that. You know,
it makes me think of a choc ice. You know, it'd be so frosty.
Yeah, definitely.
The kind of thing your mum would dig out in the summer. Do you want a choc ice, kids? And then.
The Viennetta, it'd been a good week if you didn't get a standard Viennetta that came out, but you got one of those ones with, like, effectively edible glitter on top, you know?
Oh, I never saw those ones.
I don't know, maybe it was just me. Maybe my dad had had hidden depths of glitter somewhere.
I found edible glitter recently in Poundland. Put it in some prosecco at a friend's birthday. Felt very very ritzy. Looks good.
It's like doesn't take too much to impress. It's just like prosecco and glitter. That's all you need. Really.
Well, quite.
Tim Cornish says,
classy lassie.
Tim Cornish says the Britisher struck down by the very plague that he invented. Oh, the irony!
Things in Cornwall, Tim. I miss Cornwall.
Thank you very much for that, Tim. Fantastic. And now people are saying is the third child immoral in the chat. So,
oh man, he's going to be such a cool little critter.
So I was thinking today about what would we talk about on Fake Accents? What are we going to bring up? And I thought nothing really big has happened in the last week. And then I just was going through things, and so much has happened in the last week. Like lots of little things.
I'm ashamed to say.
Nothing sort of world changing. We've obviously had the debacle of Greta Thunberg.
What's she been up to?
She is crossing the Atlantic in a $4 million carbon neutral yacht, which is not actually very carbon neutral because it's made almost entirely of carbon fiber. It also
what's she doing that for?
Because she refused to travel by air because of the carbon footprint of air travel, which is 1% to 2% of all pollution worldwide. And basically,
so she's spending a $4 million yacht.
Yeah, but the irony is, of course, that she has a team of people who travel with her, and because she's spending so long to get to to America, basically for this conference or whatever it is she's doing, 6 members of her team had to take extra flights for stopovers. So her carbon footprint is actually massive.
Greta. That's very funny. So bless her. I feel quite sorry for her. She's a sweetie, really. But yeah, that's quite funny.
She's definitely
harmless enough. But,
she's not. The campaign around her, I think, is damaging her. I feel she's a bit of a victim in all of this, as opposed to she's not the arch mastermind.
Perfectly harmless. So she's being probably exploited a little bit. Though.
She is, yeah.
But bless.
So the irritating thing is people saying, this is the leader for our next generation, in the comments. It sickens me.
We're all the right-wingers.
People saying if she really wanted to be carbon neutral, she should have bloody swam. Just swim the entire Atlantic. Got to get from Germany.
Hey, that's a challenge. That's a challenge I'd admire, to be fair.
Yeah, got to get from Germany to the Americas. What do you do? Swim? Yeah.
Americas. It could be done.
So she's obviously been doing that. But there's a few different bits and pieces. So Priti Patel has been talking about introducing a curfew for 12-year-olds in London. Children.
I quite like her. She's quite based.
Priti Patel has
saying that she would bring back public hanging, and I was like, yeah.
It's the simple things. Yeah. Horse riding, horse riding, swimming, the death penalty. It's just like
public.
Yeah, of course. Everyone likes a show. The same people, one of my favourite Pratchett quotes is the same people who the people who applaud your coronation will be the same people who applaud your beheading. People love a show.
Oh, crikey.
That's
so true.
That's so good.
Quote.
So Priti Patel has announced that children as young as 12 could be placed under curfews as part of tough new powers given to the courts to tackle knife crime.
Is it 12-year-olds?
So the Home Sec said anyone aged 12.
18, maybe.
They said anyone aged 12 and over suspected by the police to be carrying a blade could find themselves subject to a series of restrictions, including preventing them with interacting with certain people and being banned from certain areas.
I just put them in prison.
You're going to imprison so many 12-year-olds. Yeah. You could bring back chain gangs. They could work. In fact, we could have learn to code, right? But imposed in prisons on 12-year-olds. We just
need more youth clubs, Matt. We need more ping pong tables, more youth clubs.
But that's where they're getting the knives.
That's the answer, isn't it? My bad.
Well, they need outings. These, inner city, hardened street kids used to violence. All they need is to camp in the New Forest.
Museum days
but with the police.
Probably would do them good. To be fair,
of course, it would do them good. But
run around and let off a bit of steam. But yes, quite.
So the new rules form part of the Offensive Weapons Act. I hate the word offensive nowadays. It has so many extra connotations. It's the draft guidance, which is set to be published on Thursday. So it is designed to stop acid and knives making their way into the streets for attacks. And of course...
The acid one really worries me. It frightens me a lot, I must admit.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. Boys seem to stab each other and women seem to cover each other in acid. Unless you happen to...
Really? Is that a woman?
Unless you really happen to dislike your wife, because marital attacks in London tend to be acid from both directions. So it's really all over the place. So Boris Johnson obviously committing tons more police officers, about 20,000, I think. I don't know if that's London specific or if it's nationally, but of course this is also coming as there's been the chicken box controversy.
What?
Have you heard about the chicken boxes?
I did hear about that. David Lammy was like, "What's next? Watermelon?"
It's just little does he
I
really.
did laugh. I saw a Sargon's video on it. I laughed.
Yeah, it's like I've lived in these areas. I was in Bethnal Green for a year and that sort of thing.
Hey, Bethnal Green you were in.
I was, and
Christ, a bit rough around there, isn't it?
It was a little bit rough, but do you know what one of the main characterizations of it was? There were many, many chicken shops, and there were many, many youths loitering in them late at night when they wanted a cheap sandwich or whatever.
A great number of people who ran off to join ISIS came from Bethnal Green, didn't they?
That was where Shamima Begum came from. Yeah, definitely. It was weird. I lived basically directly across from a mosque, so
Did it do the call to prayer?
Well, generally, I mean, everyone went, so you could always tell.
I mean, was it broadcasting it?
Oh
Could you
no,
hear
no, no,
it?
no! It wasn't there. It wasn't. It
I'm
wasn't
so horrid. I'm
that
so
loud.
intolerant, but okay.
I was tempted to go in, but the opportunity didn't arise, unfortunately.
I'm tempted.
Lil Aotearoa, for goodness sake, every single week, Lil Aotearoa, Aotearoa, Lil Aotearoa, sends in a super chat or two, and I always get their name wrong because I find it so difficult, and I don't know why, because I can read it perfectly in my head.
Super chat you. Bless them.
It's like a tongue twister in a word. And says, you guys seen the new monohull designs for the yachts in the upcoming America's Cup? They're looking sick AF. I haven't, unfortunately.
Look at that.
I have a friend who is, I say a friend, I have a former colleague who has now retired from the Air Force and now races yachts for Team GB, or his son does, and he goes with him. So it's really good fun seeing some of that stuff, but that's about the extent of everything.
Just looking now, they do look very cool. Wow, crikey. That's fascinating.
Tim Cornish is correcting you, I'm afraid, Sarah, and saying I'm actually a colonial and 4th generation.
Correcting me, what did I say?
You said you missed Cornwall, and he's saying, sorry, I'm not actually Cornish. I'm a 4th generation colonial.
Well, get out. What he did in my homeland.
Now chat's saying KFC promotes knife crime. They now have. What I love is that they didn't even incorporate the design of the knife-free stuff into regular chicken boxes. They made black chicken boxes and put knife-free in white on them.
So what's the idea?
Well, in the same way that Sadiq Khan has an equally ineffectual campaign of London needs me alive, therefore I don't carry a knife. And this ad which plays on all the tube stations. There's posters for it everywhere, and all this jazz. It's usually next to the London Police supports Pride in the workplace, and it's got all the rainbow paraphernalia all over it.
Got it.
Yeah, so
needs me alive.
But the knife-free slogans are taxpayer funded, and they were delivered to 210 fast food outlets this week, including such wonderful chains as Chicken Cottage.
And are these not all the chicken places? Not being funny, but aren't all these the ones that got in trouble for grooming children?
I have absolutely no idea.
Just saying.
It's hard to tell, but it is I know what you're saying with that. I mean,
genuinely, I'm sure that was one of the major problems, was that they were all operating from chicken shops.
Well, I remember there was that, and there was also the issue that they ended up investigating them in the first place because people would be accused of this stuff. They would go back home and immediately be offered a job in the chicken shop to tide them over whilst the allegations were going through.
That's right. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah,
and
you wouldn't let the public know which shops it was.
Yeah, and so you didn't know whether or not there was an alleged child molester in your who was serving your food. But not only that, it was the willingness of these places to just offer employment just like that. So it was really dodgy. So obviously. Okay,
so this is just packaging that more or less says don't.
It's just got hashtag knife free on it. Like that's all it is.
Why don't they just? We need to get just a little bit more.
Let me
from ashes to ashes.
I tell you what. Let me
get a bit more rough. They just need a bit of a kick in.
Let me see if I can get the chicken boxes up.
Okay.
Actually, yeah.
What I mean is, the police should just. Can they not just be a little bit more rough-handed with them?
You mean just arrest them?
They don't respect hashtags. They're only going to surely respect a little bit of.
Well, it's the same kind of people who produce this stuff. The same people who will produce, like that army recruitment campaign about.
Oh my god, that's so embarrassing.
Which was so awful. And
I'm so embarrassed by that.
And people were bringing up the the Russian, the Chinese, and the
Yeah.
And all
And they
the
would.
on the Ukrainian special forces like advertisement to get their young people into it, and it was just
Mm.
a world apart. I think is the
It's so embarrassing. Is it okay to cry in the army? Yeah.
is it okay?
The very
Oh,
fact
also
as well that they
like
have
people
the
on patrol having time to stop and pray, and stuff like that.
particularly to do for a Muslim prayer. Like, come on,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, what I find funny, one of the memes which has come through recently is for the Air Force certainly is they've just allowed or decided to allow from September RAF personnel to have beards in line with the naval tradition.
Oh,
You can have
right,
full board now, provided you grow everything.
right.
I know this is something which
Beard.
has distressed you over time, Sarah, that people in the RAF are unable to grow a beard. So basically,
Never noticed it before, but yeah.
it's like all this failing like all these failing policies and stuff like that, pictured, and they're just slapping a sticker over this failing stuff with beards.
Mm.
Like
I mean,
people
is that was that?
a constant stream of voluntary withdrawal in the RAF, and you're just going to cover over that with beards.
What do you think? Is it? I can only imagine that a part of joining the forces is a desire for a little bit of you know, discipline and but instruction to be a man and be surely this I imagine
Well,
enjoyment in
so I was
having a bit more of
talking.
a tough life, a
I was
challenge and a
Well, a huge part of it is a challenge, and no one stays in the military unless you
mm,
become addicted to the lifestyle.
yeah.
Really, because the money is definitely better in private industry. But the basically, I was talking to a friend about this because he's not been in the military, but he used to do the military cadets and stuff like that. And every time he
Mm,
sees like a proper military ad, or he hears a story, because obviously quite a few of our shared mates are currently serving. My brother's still serving, and one of my best mates is still serving. And you get the stories, and you get the lifestyle, and you get all the rest. And there's something very appealing. It's certainly to the
mm,
masculine. Um,
yeah.
Generally, it's a very
Do discipline and principles as well
discipline.
though
It's a
and
lot of
looking after
order.
yourself and
So,
yeah.
an order is a typically masculine trait, which some people gravitate
Integrity as
towards.
well.
Yeah,
Mm,
I mean, they do sell you a little bit of a lie because it is a microcosm for society, so you will find
mm,
things which are less desirable in there. But it's, all in all, you could do far worse. And the military ethos, certainly historically, is something which definitely attracts a lot of people, and for the right
yeah.
reasons. Unfortunately, they seem to be going down. There's an awful lot of purse support officers who've been called in from Civvy Street who,
Right. Is that what
shall
it
we
is?
say, don't really vibe, and there's a lot of top-down control. If you think about it, the
Mm,
military, if you just take as a whole, has shrunk by an order of magnitude of about tenfold. So
mm,
if you imagine the amount of pressure that soldiers and their extended families and everything could put on the government
mm,
previously, and now at this much smaller size where they're much less of a priority, how much less of a voting bloc they are, and how little the MOD
mm,
cares, it's a real problem because the smaller the military gets, the less of a priority it becomes, and
mm.
the less able they are to basically make living in the military a military experience and not just Civvy Street
See.
by extension, because there is a difference, and it should be a
Yeah,
difference.
right.
So Tim Cornish says, "I
Mm.
am of Cornwall, but identify identify American American." There you go.
Oh, well,
Uh,
you're a Commonwealth brother then. You're welcome in Cornwall, my lover. As long as you eat cream teas.
and how do you make up your cream tea, Sarah?
It's jam and then cream. I always remember it as JC, like Jesus Christ, jam then cream.
The Insomniac
Actually, I'm
Savage.
going to Cornwall next week, so I might have to do a live stream of a cream tea.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, there's a wonderful place near where my parents' place, which has an orangery where they serve cream tea, and
Oh,
it is
oh,
lovely.
that sounds beautiful. I love a good orangery, like the one at Kensington.
Well,
Lovely.
the next time you're down, I'll have to invite you out there. Good.
I don't even really know what an orangery is. I assume it's a place for growing orange trees.
think a large sort of greenhouse, but very sort of Edwardian, Victorian, high ceiling, lots of glass, lots of plants, and that sort of thing. And it's been converted so that it's a cafe and stuff like that. It's gorgeous. Yeah, I'll send you some pictures later.
I want one.
But
I do. I love a nice glass gazebo, a nice Victorian glass.
I believe that's called a conservatory, Sarah. Don't know what to
say.
I'm
talking about like the no, they're called the glass houses.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying. I'm only messing.
Maybe. So cute gardens, I suppose.
Yes. So Insomniac Savage has donated £2. No comment, but thank you very much. Architect of Fate says, Sarah, more videos, please. What you've made so far has been amazing and powerful. My own lady now wants to get involved in politics after watching them. She says she has a heart, unlike the people you watch.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I'm so pleased. That's very kind of you to say. Well, I'd love to see the videos your beautiful lady wants to make. It's always nice to meet other
people. Other ladies in the space.
The base whammons. Yeah, that's really
wonderful. So
thank you. That's great afternoon. So.
Speaking of your videos, Sarah, you went on a bit of a spree, didn't you? You had 4 videos in 1 week. Was this
Yeah.
Was this all a result of the Twitter ban, or were you saving them up?
May well, yeah. Undoubtedly, no, it was. I just had nothing to do in my evening. So, as sad as that sounds, I've got so much stuff done there without having Twitter. My house is gleaming, and nice. I miss it, but now I'm finding time to do other things. How sad is that?
The Instagram feed is definitely more active.
I'm such an Instagram whore. It's true.
Don't tell the chat that. They'll be like, "Wait, we must find the Instagram feed."
And there's no nudes.
There's no nude.
No nudes.
No nudes. The let me see. Yeah. Oh yes.
It's Pinterest that gets me.
Oh, but Pinterest gets all women.
I'm on it as we speak. No, I'm not really, but I mean, I could be.
You could be, and you'd be quite happy to be.
You'd never know.
So, harking back to the Greta Thunberg debacle, other people have been in the news about the so-called climate emergency we're currently in. Can you guess who it is?
Is AOC?
It's not. It's much closer to home. It is, in fact, Prince Harry.
Oh God!
And his ghastly wife. And
gross.
Basically,
notice how Kate and Will's never bothered to say anything. That's how I like it. Quiet.
Kate is definitely much more the darling of the English people than Meghan ever will be.
She's sweet enough and beautiful, but just not with the woke stuff. The SJW stuff just really doesn't do it for me.
But Sarah, they're not going to have more than 2 kids so that they don't contribute to overpopulation.
Oh, great! We can bring in even more immigrants then.
Let me see if I can pull up this tweet actually that has raced my timeline. So this is, here we are, Elton John.
Oh, what's Elton been up to?
Elton, so he's saying, I am deeply distressed by today's distorted and malicious account in the press surrounding the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's private stay at my home in Nice last week.
La-di-da.
And basically, it's because it is they've been, Meghan in particular has been harking on about the environment, how we must all do more to change, and this is their 4th private jet flight this week. So, Elton, bless him, says that to support Prince Harry's commitment to the environment, we have ensured that their flight was carbon neutral by making an appropriate contribution to Carbon Footprint trademark, the charity.
Stick a check in the post.
But of course,
that's how they always do.
Of course, exactly. Yeah. People are pointing out that this seems basically the same as, priests donating exorbitant amounts of money to the church in order to cover up for their own infidelities so that the Pope wouldn't go after them.
Exactly, that's it. Yeah, that's exactly it.
It's not very helpful, basically.
just wish they wouldn't proselytise and preach. You know, all the money's going on them.
Well, it's absolutely, you know, and it's not a drop in the ocean to someone that wealthy as well.
Indeed,
you know, it's there's no personal sacrifice there. And I'm not even saying
the imminent Islamization of Europe and the demographic replacement. That sounds like a more reasonable priority, but you know.
I think I'm going to rename you, Sarah, to the Demonetizer. Just
sorry.
Mentioning, I tell you what I should have done. I should have got Halsey in here at the same time for a stream.
Is he a demonetizer as well?
Oh, obviously. British calls him the right-wing Ray, which is what I find funny. And
I like Halsey. He's so based.
He's very loud as well, so it also helps. He always knows what he's thinking. There was also a funny clip. Let me see. In fact, let me see if I can get a browser source in here. Sort of a display capture. And hopefully, if that works well, no, it's not working. I was hoping that I could capture this video, which is why does Antifa wear masks? In fact, I will put a link. Ooh, excuse me. I will put a link to this in both in Discord, but I'll also pop it in the chat so that people can watch along with. And it says, why do they wear masks? Because this is what happens when your mum finds out you joined Antifa. And it's a glorious 20-second clip of this mother dragging her son by the ear out of a protest.
Is it real?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh man, that's hilarious. I love that.
And it's definitely...
And she's like... I was saying this to someone earlier, you don't get enough clips around the ear these days. Do you know what I mean?
She's saying something along the lines of, get your fucking ass over here. Right, so she's not happy.
That's hilarious.
I find it fantastic because
you got it. Oh, I'd love to see that.
It's I've sent it to you on Discord. So hopefully you'll be able to see that.
What was she doing at the protest?
I don't know. I just presume that she found out that he was going there and turned up.
Yeah.
And
she's doing a proper little slap.
Absolutely smacking around. For those of you, unfortunately, who don't have access to Twitter...
that's going to be embarrassing, that.
I'm hoping that next week's Fake Accents will have access to screen share capabilities and it'll be a lot easier. I'm still trying to figure out this software as is. Sorry about that. But if you can watch the video that I linked, it is very funny. This is apparently from Baltimore. Oh, apparently this is a great clip from a few years ago. Okay.
Oh, is it? Oh well, it's aged well. I like it.
It has. I mean, you know, we need more of this. You know, it's clearly resurfaced. Sorry, but
we don't get enough sort of like old ladies down the road pointing their finger and like you know the old washing your mouth out with soap type.
just well, she's got soap and a sock, and she knows she's going to beat your ass. Like
you know, like old Mrs. Miggins down the road. You wouldn't mess about.
You wouldn't dare.
She'd have something to say. Yeah, we don't have enough of that these days.
Yep. Also, Gavin McInnes caused some issues earlier in the week, I noticed. May have been... In fact, it was today, actually, this morning.
Yeah?
He went on the news and said that overall he could not recommend violence enough. It's a really effective way to solve problems.
I love Gavin.
It's just funny. Like, I have no idea about the larger context of the conversation. I think he's talking about the Proud Boys. And the fact that he went down, and they got attacked.
If Antifa do it, they're saying, well,
if they're out for a scrap, we're out there to respond. We quite enjoy a scrap, and
as good as we get it, for sure.
Overall, it appears to be solving the problems. Indeed. I think I would lean more onto the side of it's escalating things. But you know, that's Gavin. Of course, the Britisher has commented on this because he's not very happy. Saying, indeed, anything that takes us towards street violence is tempting disaster. People would do well to read up on their Roman history. Claudius and Milo already tried street violence. It did not work out well. So even when he's ill, he finds a way to bring the Romans into Fake Accents of an evening. Fantastic. Let me see what I've got here. So the Hong Kong riots have been escalating.
I know. Well, I saw Black Pigeon Speaks did a very good, I don't know if you saw this afternoon video on how they're using Pepe the Frog as the symbol of freedom. It's quite amazing. It's worth checking out his video on it.
Sarah? Sarah.
Yes.
So it's Goen says, Sarah makes happy noises. Everyone likes that.
Today, that's nice of you. I've been told it's very annoying, actually.
People are now saying, wasn't that Gavin interview also from a few years ago? For goodness sake, like,
get your shit together.
This is all just right. My Twitter feed is filled with, like, nothing happened this week. Clearly, therefore, everything is coming up from last.
Scrape something together.
Well, I can guarantee the Hong Kong riots are not from years ago.
That's true. No.
And they did.
Let's talk about the Hong Kong.
Because of course, there's been a couple of bits and pieces which have been quite dramatic about this. 1.7 million people marched yesterday in the pouring rain. A quarter. That's a quarter of all of Hong Kong.
Whoa!
Can you imagine if 1 in 4 people in the UK got up, marched to Westminster, and told them to fuck off?
We can't be. We're too lazy for that, aren't we?
No, it's not the British way.
They still wouldn't do anything.
Not the British way.
It's not really. We're more to sort of sit quietly and grumble and angst about it.
Enough of this sort of thing.
You're down with this sort of thing. Indeed. Wow, that's quite fascinating. So what do you think will come of it then?
It's pretty intense. They're being peaceful, but it all depends what's going on. I've seen a number of articles. Spiked did a good one, actually. Excuse me. A couple of days ago, talking about the number of people that have been caught who are Chinese instigators. So the Chinese have sent people over to incite violence in the crowd or commit an act of violence in order to give the Hong Kong police an excuse to suddenly use brutal violence against the, counter violence.
Communists never change, eh?
They don't. So they've had things like bad spies in bad Chinglish saying, I'm just a tourist, even though they're taking like dozens of photos of certain things in certain areas. It's just, it's all very dodgy at the moment. And some guy who was in the firing line, or one of the police, that he was photographed separately in another raid, and then he was dressed as a protester, like throwing something through a window or something, causing criminal damage. So it's weird, but they're having to pass this with the fact that an awful lot of the Hong Kong police have also defected to the protest side. So it's like, who do you trust?
I've noticed that as well. Well, indeed.
So they blocked. Oh, and they've also got a martyr, haven't they? Because there was that lady who got hit in the eye with a rock or a beanbag round or something, and is now.
The Pepe campaign is something like what's it? Something to do with his eyes, but there's some very cute, sad. Having his eye gouged out.
Very
watch this video.
Very sweet, sad Pepes with their eyes
Pepe's
gouged
so
out.
Cute. He's so sweet. I love Pepe.
Is a good meme. Architect of Fate says, can we get support for replacing the communists in London and San Francisco with the freedom-loving people of Hong Kong? Yes, this is something.
Can we do an exchange?
Yeah, exactly, an exchange program. The communists can have.
The communists can't really say no, can they? Because presumably that's the perfect situation.
Well, so many of them believe that China is not real communism. But what I have seen as well is the people who have supported the Chinese government in this, which has been a surprising number of people on the right, from what I've seen.
Really?
Not big figures, just people I know who are generally right wing, and it's mainly because they see Hong Kong is this little bastion of Westernism that the Chinese have, and what they see it as is a protection by Chinese of their culture and their values and their traditions. They won't allow the West to encroach on their way of doing things, wrong as we consider it. So they're like, the Chinese are based, they're protecting their culture.
I want our colony back. I want our former colony back.
Exactly. I want Hong Kong back.
Very right wing. I think Hong Kong wants us back too.
Apparently, or recently they've been calling on Trump a lot more to intervene.
Really?
So there's been a lot of American flags flying.
Good.
There was obviously the case. There's a Mulan reboot coming out, so live action Mulan, and
live action.
They've chosen a naturalized Chinese American citizen to be the actress who plays Mulan, and she came out.
I thought she was Japanese.
Just what I've heard.
I mean,
anyway.
I thought Mulan was. Oh, okay.
Not sure, but basically, she came out in support of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party.
Does she?
And this caused obviously a lot of backlash and that sort of thing. But I was thinking about it, and I really hesitate to cast judgment on her for doing that. She's now a celebrity, just by this role that she's landed, and definitely the eye of the Asian world is upon her, just because that's what they care about. And I would imagine that she has family or friends who, live over there. And if she comes out in support of the Hong Kong protesters, who knows what could happen to their, given the social credit score system.
That's not a bad point. Yeah, I suppose it's not a bad point.
When you get told, so your grandparents won't be able to use the bus anymore because you made this comment.
Well, it seems like a perfectly honest response, or yeah, I mean.
So I hesitate. I try not to cast too much judgment on motives there, but it's obviously causing consternation.
Difficult situation to be in, I suppose.
Lil Aotearoa has said, search NZ Labour Party sexual misconduct allegations. So funny. It definitely sounds like something funny that would come up. This is Elon Herald. This is from a couple of weeks ago. Jacinda Ardern confirms an independent review after sexual harassment complaints. Their Labour Party... So she runs the Labour Party, I'm assuming, which runs New Zealand. They ran a young Labour summer camp, and there are currently allegations of sexual harassment. At least 4 members of the Labour Party have reportedly resigned over an investigation into allegations against parliamentary staffers who worked for the Labour Party. There were 12 alleged complaints, and allegations involved sexual assault, rape, and offers to pay for sex.
Jesus! This is at the kids' summer camp?
Goodness me. This is the Young Labour Summer Camp, so, this is the equivalent of, something Momentum might be here. We need to be open to the fact that we don't always get it right, and learn from the mistakes of the past. We do need to change the way we do things, she told reporters.
You don't say.
Yeah, don't rape kids. Yeah, that's a good start.
Yeah.
Let me see what we've got here. Asked if there was a culture problem in the Labour Party, Ardern said, I can't ignore the fact that a complaint has been made, but does this mean that this is the experience of every Labour Party member? No.
Do not!
Nor do I want to be dismissive of what the complaints are raising. We need to take that seriously. So basically, a complaint has been made. I don't think it's everyone, but we're going to take it seriously. If you could find a way to basically repeat back what someone said to you.
Indeed.
It's nonsense. Oh, dear.
Crikey, though, that's a hell of a... Oh, that's a hell of a camp. It's a hell of a week.
Goodness gracious. That was a couple of weeks ago.
Presuming... There's a trend with Labour, isn't there? And
Labour being shady? Never. Can't imagine why. And Jeremy Corbyn gave a speech today.
Oh, did he?
He was, and the left is now uniting against him. It's lovely. It's delicious.
Are they really?
A little bit. The general response has been very lukewarm. No, well, Owen Jones is doing his own Jussie Smollett at the moment.
Didn't he? Oh, yes. I saw that. I don't feel sorry for him. I feel bad saying that, but...
But I also don't believe it was politically motivated. I also, in the age where people have been seen to do these sorts of things, without any evidence, I don't even know if it actually happened. And Owen Jones is
see some CCTV.
Owen Jones is the kind of guy where I would believe that he had one too many pina coladas.
Yes.
Bumped into a bollard.
He's gonna milk.
Bumped into a bollard, got a nice bruised rib or something, and he's gone, I've been assaulted. I don't know. It could be true, but without evidence or anything along those lines.
He's going to milk it as much as he can.
And Jeremy Corbyn tweeted solidarity, and people kept responding to that with all the articles which Owen has written being critical of Jeremy Corbyn. That was quite funny. Today's speech was the Labour leader's last chance to muster a coalition against No Deal, but all he's after is a general election. So this is what keeps going, because of course he, believe it or not, Mr. Corbyn actually does happen to be quite the Eurosceptic.
He does,
deep
absolutely.
Down.
He had some very based things to say when he was caught off guard on camera. Yeah.
In fact, the subject of my next sort of heavily edited video, in fact, I've been calling it my magnum opus, because normally I make a video and it's got about 6 or 7 layers, and this one has 10 layers just for audio. So it's going to be a fun one. I'll show you that after the stream, actually.
I do.
But yes, so you get the Grawny ad here going, history is offering Jeremy Corbyn the gift of his dreams and he's rejecting it. He's saying he will do everything necessary to save Britain from the bizarre self-harm of no-deal Brexit, personally crafted by Boris Johnson. He will not. It's just...
Pricky. There's no pleasing these people.
Just like all Corbyn's... Corbyn knows that it's a death knell for the Labour Party to back like the Lib Dem version of Remain. I mean, and you can see this in particular with something like Change UK. So Change UK today came out as polling at 0%. They're on effectively an equal footing with UKIP at the moment.
Really? Crikey.
Of all things.
Wow, UKIP's not doing well then.
Well, UKIP's doing bad because of the Brexit Party and that sort of thing.
Suppose, yeah.
And I don't know whether or not UKIP will survive this particular round of stuff, their own leadership elections and their own internal politics. But whatever happens will happen, as long as there's a voice for the actual people somewhere. But Labour knows that he can't back a second referendum; it would be unconstitutional. He can't back just a position of axing no deal because that's the default position. And in fact, one of the funny things I saw was, who's the chap? Lord Adonis? The insufferable git that he is.
Yes, he is. It's dreadful, isn't he?
He basically said something along the lines of, no one ever discussed the possibility of no deal before the vote. And people put together a supercut of all the times Remainers had brought up no deal because they were the only ones really bringing it up in Project Fear, and I thought it was fantastic because a load of the clips were Adonis himself bringing it up.
I think people like that just rely on the public forgetting.
Yeah, well, they go, it was 3 years ago. They've forgotten themselves, but they're like, oh well, I can't really remember that, so that's what it is. Let me see what I've got here. Yeah, Corbyn is a death nail. Basically, they're calling on him to recognise that he's responsible for the crisis. Apparently, support for him within the Labour Party has fallen greatly as well. So they see him as kind of part of the elite. Well,
they see him as part of the elite, do they now?
The intellectual elite. In cahoots. Didn't cause enough trouble for the Conservatives, so he may as well be Tory light, that sort of thing.
So if a hardcore Marxist like that is the elite, then who will they be satisfied with? I mean, I'm more than happy for the party to fall apart. So, that's one of the good things about these things.
Basically, I think the general vibe of the entire speech was, put Labour in power, or we'll let Brexit happen.
Oh,
So okay. he can't get the support of the Tory rebels. It's a bit of a re-election suicide for them if they put Corbyn in power. So you've got Joe Swinson suggesting that they'll have her and Corbyn as the father and mother of the house in a temporary interim government to stop the Vote Leave campaign. But really, people going to go after Joe Swinson as well? Like, she's not exactly showing herself to be a strong candidate either. She's making a lot of noise and saying not a lot, from what I've seen. But even then, she says a lot. She claims to be saying a lot, but I don't see any of it publicised. Have you run into this, by the way, at your workplace or generally in life, where people have started claiming that the BBC is in favour of Brexit?
I've heard it, and yes, I have heard people say that before, and I just laugh. I think, what world are you living in?
The
No,
the
of course they're not.
Brexit bias corporation is what I keep
Brexit?
hearing.
Are you kidding me?
No,
No, it
that's
couldn't
what
be
people have
less
been
biased.
saying.
I wish it were.
It's like I'm just thinking of how many panels there have been, how many episodes of Question Time, how many
So biased toward EU. Oh, they funded. They well. Get out of here.
It's all nonsense.
Jeez.
But it's fascinating how many believe. It does make me think, what you're living under. They are promoting the voice of the only people who are, they complain, for instance, that they're seeing, at the time it was Gerard Batten from UKIP, Nigel Farage, that sort of thing, talking about what they want to do with Brexit all the time. But the truth is that they are really the only voices, whereas the Remainers in government and in the media certainly are a dime a dozen. So they're getting a constant cycle, I think, of Remainer faces, but nothing which really sticks. And they're seeing the opposition all the time, the same people. And this makes them think that they're platforming these people deliberately, like to push through Brexit instead of going for the others. But I mean, really, the working classes don't really have any other representatives.
Well, that's quite true, indeed. Yeah.
You could make a case for Tommy Robinson, but the idea of him going on the BBC is laughable. And
he used to have him on for a little while, but
yeah, I remember there was that one. He was on Daily Politics, wasn't he? And they were like,
he was on a few things.
They did that really ridiculous. Trying to take him down by reading a passage of the Bible. And he says, "It says in a holy book of this country," sort of thing.
And he totally wiped the floor with them. He's been on the BBC a few times, but they've always just treated him like dirt, of course. But yeah,
of course. I don't know. I just feel like he's in prison now, isn't he? They actually did send him to prison in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was right. Anyway, I disagree with Tommy on like various bits and pieces, but I don't think he should be in prison.
No, of course not.
Yeah. So let me see. What else do we think has? Oh yes, there was an article called "Is it immoral to have babies in the era of climate change?"
It is for white people.
Well, yeah, they were. All of the pictures for the article are of white children. And all of the Twitter comments that I saw were people posting the statistic of, sort of white European birth rate 1.7, Africa 6+. So
people are now sort of biting back somewhat. It's so obvious, yeah.
So this is all coming down because Prince Harry said, "We are the one species on this planet that seems to think this place belongs to us and only us."
Shut up, Harry.
I always think to myself, as he did in the military, obviously, whenever there's another natural disaster, a huge increase in volcanic eruptions or earthquakes or flooding, how many clues does nature have to give us before we actually learn, waking up to the damage and destruction we're causing? Yep, definitely...
Go talk to Africa about it, then.
We definitely cause volcanic eruptions. Mount St. Helens...
No good looking at us.
Mount St. Helens was because a secret galleon crashed into the side of the island. It's just utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. And of course, the UN is calling it a climate apartheid.
Are they really?
And they're going on. Yeah. So now all the philosophy journals are talking about whether procreation is immoral in general. And I just find nonsense.
Climate apartheid, it was like when they refer to climate denial, like it's Holocaust denial, climate change denial.
But they reckon that at the current rate of growth, the population will peak at around 11 billion within a century, and that seems to be about as far as we go anyway. So I mean, it's really not a problem. The more developed the nation becomes, the fewer kids, because the mortality rate is less high. And
just don't want us around anymore. I think I'm convinced they want us spread out.
You reckon the Great Replacement theory is true, do you?
I'm 100%. Yeah.
There you go.
Banned from your channel.
You're never banned.
Well, they more or less tell us they don't want us around. So yeah, I think Renard Camus has some very interesting things to say on this. But anyway, yeah, I don't want to get you in trouble.
That's quite all right. Let me see what I've got here. A couple of super chats coming in. So, Craig H again. Thank you very much. Does any of you all going to Westminster on Brexit Day to record Ramona tears and the audible screeching for the memes? I'm definitely considering. I will be in the area at the time, so I'm hoping to document. Sargon's video, his tech guy who does all the camera work and so on. We're quite good friends, and I'm hoping that we'll do a set of interviews down there and chat to people, and be a laugh.
Definitely need to. Yeah.
We'd hope for that. And then what else have we got? Lumberg says, for £5, thank you very much. What do we think about Boris's PPM cues? A PM starts a channel. I don't know anything about this.
Do you? I don't know. No, I don't. PPM cues.
Let me just pop. Oh, Boris Johnson Facebook question.
I haven't seen it. No, I haven't seen it.
The people's PM's cues.
Right.
Even more pointless than the real.
Because you haven't been tuning into the news at all this week, to my shame.
Okay, so five days ago, I can't believe I missed this. Boris Johnson hosted a live people's PMQs over the course of an hour or whatever it was. But they were pre-selected questions. That's the trouble.
Right. Okay.
So they're people. It seems to me a bit pointless.
Yeah, I think so.
It was supposed to be effectively a nicety, but the lack of, I suppose, tech literacy from Boris himself, the amount of vetting that had to go through, it was all going to be very sanitized.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
If he continues to do it, I hope it becomes a lot more organic, and you can actually engage with the chat and stuff like that. I mean, otherwise, a live stream is pointless.
Exactly. I would do it with Trump or something, but yeah, it's a bit pointless, isn't it?
Rubber says, "Did you miss my super chat from the start?" I will have. If you just write it in here, you don't need to send another super chat, man. I will read it out. Yeah. I mean, it bypasses the mainstream media, which, to his credit, but if it's his own media controlling it, what's the point? If it's just a bunch of spin doctors prepared questions, I really don't see.
It's a little bit farcical, isn't it? Yeah.
So let me see if there.
I can't imagine it's not terribly engaging, is it?
Let me see if there's a detail. He was asked how he intends to deliver Brexit, given the lack of movement from the EU and opposition from MPs. And he was basically saying that it's a terrible kind of collaboration between people who think they can block Brexit in Parliament and our European friends.
Oh, sassy.
Our European friends are not moving in their willingness to compromise. They're not compromising at all on the withdrawal agreement, even though it's been thrown out here 3 times. They're sticking to every letter, every comma, including the backstop, because they still believe Brexit will be blocked by Parliament. The awful thing is...
He's right.
And he's true. But the thing is, they'll just stalemate themselves out, because no-deal Brexit is not a conscious decision by Parliament.
No.
It's the default position. And the ballot paper did not say, forge a deal with the EU and leave. It said leave.
Indeed, absolutely. Yeah. No, they won't get their way on this one, which I'm delighted about.
He was asked who his political heroes were. He mentioned Winston Churchill, Pericles of Athens.
Yeah, he wrote a book on Churchill, didn't he? Oh, right, Pericles.
One of the most powerful articulators of the idea of democracy. And he says that Pericles is why we will leave the EU on the 31st of October. Those darn Greeks that the Remainers should be going after, not anyone else,
Well, I know he wrote a book on Churchill, didn't he? I'd like to read it, actually. I haven't read it, but...
He did, because he studied the classics, didn't he, at university?
Yes, but he's done a lot. He's quite interested, it seems, in oration, and Churchill is a great orator. I'd like to read it.
People are asking, do you sing soprano, Sarah?
Not that I know of. No.
So unlucky there, Rory. The Mighty Balzac says, sounds like the Junior Anti-Sex League from 1984. Yeah, definitely. Why aren't I talking about the dangers of 5G? I may have to check that out.
Oh, I've heard Alex Jones talking about this, yeah.
I will have to have a look at that. I don't know what you've heard Alex Jones talk about it. What's he saying?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't know. I wasn't listening. He was just getting angry about.
Maybe I'll look at it in a minute.
One of his hands on hips moments.
Lots of superficial answers apparently to a lot of questions.
Really, yeah.
He was asked how he would protect and advance mental health services, and he said his focus is currently crime, often associated with mental health. So he's going to try and talk more about mental health issues. Then there was
anything about Islam.
I like this. Sorry, Sarah from London asked about tackling knife crime.
Okay.
He claims
it wasn't me.
He claims that he gripped the problem whilst mayor himself. So he's going to put and then he reiterated his plan for 20,000 new police officers and increasing stop and search. Let me see. People asked about whether or not there would be an election. He said people are sick of those. We're leaving.
Good for him. Did you say anything about immigration?
I'm looking, but it doesn't appear to be anything else on any of that, unfortunately. Nothing on immigration. Okay. So the next time it comes up, I expect to see you in the chat, Sarah, going, yes, but what about immigration? But what about immigration? But what about immigration?
We want to know.
So let's have a look and see what the dangers of... I tell you what, dangers of 5G is the top search.
Is it?
Top search thing. Does 5G pose health risks released on
I don't even know what G is.
5G is your data for your phone.
Right.
So you've got 4G at the moment, and 5G is the next. It relies on radio waves, which everything relies on radio waves. It's fine.
All right, fair enough.
5G in urban spaces need to be closer together. The sheer amount of electromagnetic radiation that used by all mobile phone technologies has led some people to worry about increased health risks, including developing certain types of cancer. The World Health Organization and the International Agency for Research on Cancer classified all radio frequency radiation, of which mobile signals are a part, as possibly carcinogenic. Now, that to me says possibly, which means they have no concrete link. And also all radio frequency radiation, which is considerably different. We use radio waves for an awful lot of things, not just communication. In the same way, it's like you've all got a microwave in your home, or most people have, and it's like, the waves from that are definitely carcinogenic. But
true enough.
No one seems to be
too fast. Yeah, that's true.
Eating, the next line puts it into perspective. Eating pickled vegetables and using talcum powder are classed as having the same level of risk.
Really? If you have a bit of talcum powder.
If you drink alcohol and eat processed meat, that's a higher risk than anything else. So, not than anything else, than radio waves. So
that makes me feel better.
They exposed rats to radiation from mobile phones for 9 hours a day, every day for 2 years.
Yeah.
Starting in utero. And no cancer link was found, and that the rats exposed to the radiation lived longer than the control group.
Really?
But they then said it cannot be a direct comparison because one's rats and we're humans.
Indeed. But that's good.
But I mean, most of us are not on the phone to loved ones for 9 hours a day. Even if we do tend to store phones in pockets close to areas which might be considered dangerous for electromagnetic radiation. But we'll see. But they're non-ionizing, so ionizing waves are the ones damage. If it's ionizing, it kills your DNA, and they don't do that. So this seems to be.
I think we'll be all right.
Yeah,
just the newest thing to worry about, and there'll be something new next year.
And it all runs at lower power levels than the 4G technology, which means that the level of radiation exposure is lower anyway. What a load of rubbish!
Exactly. See, you're on it, Martin. Mark knows. You make me feel better about these things.
People are saying no. Talcum powder full of asbestos, not exactly reassuring.
Don't tell me that.
People, maybe they created super rats. Old Wi-Fi used to interfere with micro. Let me see. Am I reading The Guardian? I am reading BBC at the moment. People are claiming 5G is a weapon really, please do look into 5G. Let me have a look. Okay, I'll tell you what. I will look at 5G is a weapon. 5G, is it a weapon? Should we be scared? Let me look. The New Yorker says that the Trump team is considering nationalizing a 5G network.
Amazing.
Let me see. If you believe the hype of 5G, it will lead to a whole new Internet of Things, where everything from toasters to dog collars to dialysis to running shoes will be connected. Remote robotic surgery will be routine. The military may develop hypersonic weapons. Autonomous vehicles will cruise safely along smart highways. These are quite extravagant claims, and the stakes seem high. But one estimate, one estimate does project that it will pump $12 trillion into the global economy by 2035 and add an additional 22 million new jobs in the US alone. But let me see.
We'll be fine.
I cannot see.
I think there was some test I read about where some birds were killed, or I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. Is 5G being weaponized?
See, where did I find that?
It appears to be a patent war rather than an actual.
That's 5G could have catastrophic effects on human health, but this has directed me to David Icke's website, so I don't know.
Everyone's favourite.
He's actually pretty interesting, but.
Well, yeah, for a nutter.
Oh, Mark.
Let me see. Harry Channel says the rats they use will get cancer if you look at them angrily. There's no comparison. We're sturdier. And Matt Whitaker says Boris needs to use social media as Trump does. Sod the MSM. Yeah. He looks like he was aiming for the boomers with Facebook, which is a shame, but it could be a start.
I suppose it's a bit misplaced. He should have done Reddit or something. I don't know, not Facebook.
Can you imagine Boris Johnson doing a Reddit AMA?
Boris on Reddit,
ask me anything. It's like the number of people who just spam racial slurs in the chat.
Undoubtedly. Okay.
So I'm
looking forward to his first meeting with Trump.
I can't see too much on 5G, but I assume it's nothing compared to the coming 6G. Whatever happens next will be equally as dramatic.
Indeed. I think we've been all right with 4 and 5. We'll be all right.
People are saying David Icke versus Alex Jones. Sarah, what do you want?
Oh, I should go the Alex Jones to me just because he's so likable.
I think Alex Jones has the rant factor.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as if you trigger him in just the right way,
exactly.
he will just go on for about 15 minutes.
I'm all about the rant factor. Yeah.
Now people are comparing Gs. Like 7G seems quite formidable. 8G is going to be better than 7G. I will trump your 7G with a 12G.
Gs, your G strings.
In fact, should Boris go on 4chan? That's what I want to know. Can you imagine Boris on poll, just going ahead with that.
Yeah, I like the idea. of that.
Can we honestly disprove that our leaders are all reptilians, says Dominic? Only somewhat, I'm afraid.
I reckon so. That reptilian brain, there's something in that.
And now, of course, I'm being solicited to get Boris on fake accents. So
you should try and get an interview.
I'll try and make it happen. I say, I'll increase your social media reach by at least 1,000 people.
It's worth it. Get a few subs.
That is good. What else we got? People asking any opinions on Christian Niemitz. I know.
Both really should have prepared.
Oh, he's head of the IEA. I haven't seen anything from him recently, and I'm not familiar with him particularly myself, so I can't really comment on that. Staff Sergeant Sniper saying Facebook does make some sense considering the demographic and the largest leave demographic. But I can understand that. And we all know Twitter is Trump's playground anyway, and he'll just be accused of copying him if he goes on there.
Daddy's playground.
You call him Dad.
That's my name who started that.
One of my friends calls Jordan Peterson Daddy.
I can understand that. He is
that's
a daddy of sorts.
But we have this thing where basically I have to occasionally there'll be a message and she'll be like yes, or she'll send a quote or something and be like always daddy or something like that, and I have to occasionally explain to a friend why my this friend has sent me a message called me daddy, and I have to explain it's not me. Definitely not me.
You sure about that, Mark?
Yeah, sure.
That's a big.
Right. Unfortunately, I am losing my voice at this point. I really wish I'd had a glass of water. And I think it's about time to end, because we are past 10 o'clock now, and unfortunately I have to get up quite early in the morning. But thank you ever so much to everyone for turning up and listening to this week's episode of Fake Accents Unite. Please check out the merch in the description. Tune in on Thursday for another stream. Look out for my next heavily edited video, which is going to be great. It's a rubbish retelling of Brexit, Brexit but told really badly. It's going to be good fun, a bit more of a comedy skit style, about 6 minutes, should be fun. And I will see you all then. Be good. Thank you very much for joining me, Sarah. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. It's been lovely. I've enjoyed it.
Wonderful.
Get well soon, Britisher.
And I cannot see, I'm afraid, Rubber, if you messaged with your super chat message. I'm afraid I've missed it in the chat. But if you send it to me on Twitter, I will mention it at the beginning of the next stream. Thank you ever so much. Take care, everyone, and have a great week.